Welcome to the Destiny of Manufacturing podcast. I am Dean Phillips here at PMA headquarters at Tennessee, kind of having a little bit of a different show today. We have on with us today, who was here and a great speaker at our stamping conference, from Larson Tool, Manny Resendes, who is the engineering and tool room manager and has done a tremendous amount of work in technology and in the future of manufacturing. Welcome, Manny.
Hey, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Dean.
It is great to have you here, and it is my pleasure to have you. Thank you. Right off the bat, I always like to ask people, what are some of the changes you're seeing coming over the next 5 years?
Yeah, so over the next 5 years, what we're seeing is the workforce getting the younger generation involved. What we're noticing is that trying to backfill. We have that. People are retiring, right? And then there's an age gap fill that we need to keep filling, right? But we're really looking for those high school students or trade students or someone younger in order to bring up, because a lot of times in the tool making business or in the machining business, it's a niche business depending on each company. So being able to train them in that niche area just makes it much more efficient, right? In learning. So it's really finding that gap to fill that, say, 30s to 45-year-old span, as we still try to bring in the younger crowd, whether it's co-op or right out of high school.
Right. Yeah. And I can tell you, where you can find some of your best new people, you might be surprised, but like robotics competitions and things like that, I always like going there because those are somebody that you could see that they understand the hands-on principles too. And that can be really dramatic. Plus, they can really help you on your automation side. But there's no question, workforce is an area that we still need to work at. We still need to develop classes. And I know that you've done so much work on that. Tell us a little bit about how you got involved in some of this.
So how I got involved was back when I was 14 years old. My parents came from the island of the Azores. So when they traveled here to the U.S., really they didn't understand the manufacturing side or really what the United States had to offer, right? So, but my father always told me, go to a trade school, right? So I did. And when I went there, I was able to explore multiple shops, right? And again, I had no idea the difference between electricity, auto mechanics, and machine shop. So I ended up going into the machine shop. I explored it for 2 weeks and a spark hit me, right? As soon as I saw chips flying and I made things with my hands, and I had, a C clamp that I filed and sat there on a bandsaw and made, right? That got me in the trade still to this day, right? This is 30 years later. So if it wasn't for those teachers, if it wasn't for that spark and those mentors that I had, who knows what I'd be doing, right? But this career that I've had in manufacturing all started from that one day of walking through that door, and it's gotten me all across the continents, right, in terms of manufacturing, because I don't sit in the cubicle, right? I'm lucky enough to be able to go out there and play with engineering and physics, and then try to get production out of that. So it's a great career.
That's great. Now you're also very active in the districts too. Can you tell me a little bit about what you've got going on in the New England area?
Yeah, absolutely. So from a district point of view, this year in 2025, we re-kicked off the New England District. We have events planned, in terms of being part of sponsorship for SkillsUSA. So getting out there and the kids in the trade schools who are, top first, second, and third in the state, we're helping sponsor that. And I'm actually working with the SkillsUSA. I'm the series director in order to update all the standards to the nationals so that these kids are working with CNC, like Mastercam or Fusion, they're making the parts, inspecting them, really making sure that these kids who go out there into the real world already have that hands-on experience when they walk in the door. So again, working on that side of it, sponsoring that, showing the people of New England plant tours in order so they can see what other companies are doing, right, in terms of lean or any kind of Six Sigma that could help them streamline and make their processes efficient. So those are the two areas we're really focused on, that and networking in order. And obviously I call it to get those nuggets from everyone, because when you're sitting there talking to someone about maybe something you're working on, you never know. There's that one opportunity or a discussion or a sentence that just changes your mind, right? So we're really focused on that side of it.
Yeah, I'm so glad you mentioned that. Every time I've gone on a plant tour, I always learn something. And my feeling is that, and I always encourage people to do this, that if you have a plant tour and you have 20 people come through your plant, those are 20 sets of eyes that also can give you feedback too. They can pick up on things that when you're dealing with the day-to-day, you get blinders on of what you do, because you have your process, your way of doing things. And sometimes it's hard to look at the bigger picture when you are only focused on that. I can get really efficient at a hammer and an anvil, but a stamping press is going to do a lot more work than that hammer and anvil is going to do. So you have to explore and look at what other things are out there. And especially on the technology side, you see somebody, I've even gone to like the bun company who makes buns for different restaurants and things like that. And the way that they package and handle their throughput and the way that they use air to move parts and things like that, I've really could take some of that and apply it in the stamping world to get parts in and out, get out of scrap and things like that. So you're absolutely right. It provides a tremendous amount of feedback to our processes, but also really helps to build our value, as I see it, to our companies and to ourselves, to be a better advocate, to know what technologies are available. So that is tremendous, and I really appreciate you sharing that. Tell me a little bit about what are some of the challenges that you're seeing overall?
Yeah, some of the challenges, that we're seeing is just, a couple things. One, it's getting the word out, right? So we're working with social media and we're working with, looking at machines that would, interest the younger generations, right? So that's one side of it, right? So we're working on that and we're doing it, right? Because what I like to tell people is, like, we can sit here and talk about it all day, but if we don't execute, then we fail, right? So we all have a spot where we need to chip in, and we're working those angles, right? And then the second part is we're noticing here in New England that a lot of tool rooms and CNC shops, as people are retiring, they can't really backfill, right? So we're starting to see a lot of business in terms of conditioning tooling for companies that used to do that, or rebuilding components for them, or just kind of rebuilding new tools or what have you. But it's basically, in the nutshell, is shops are starting to slow down in terms of rehire. And closing those down in facilities. So it's creating an opportunity at the same time. But, it's something that I wish they could keep built up, but that's not the case. Right.
Yeah. And there's challenges, I think, in general, of getting people interested in our industry, that we have a personality thing that we have to actually get out there and promote manufacturing, to say, hey, this is cool. This is really interesting. This is something that if you apply it, yes, it could be a great career for you, but it could be very interesting, and say the why, how you're going to impact the world, how you're changing people's lives.
Yeah.
And that's really important, because the younger workforce wants to hear that. They want to know how they're making a difference in the world. And it can be so dramatic. And I really want to highlight those people that do that.
And I do see, like, areas that I see are growing from a technology point of view, at least in processes that we use here, is like CNC machining, from lathes that now have 5-axis heads in them. So you're machining, you're turning parts, you have dual spindles, and you got one part coming out in that op. I've noticed the CNC side of technology is really advanced. So we've been investing in that side in order to get the one-piece workflow, right? And then the other side of it is presses with servo presses for stampings and then having robots, it creates a lot of flexibility on a cobot with a servo press, because then again, if you have some kind of insert that you're putting inside the part while it's stamping, or maybe it's a bulk pickup, right? Those are quick, if you have the equipment, it's easy to manipulate and easy to create processes with that kind of technology nowadays.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're adding value. I mean, at the end of the day, you have a value added process it's not just, trading manual labor for automatic labor. You're trading a skill that you can add an insertion, you can do other things. You're also reducing the exposure to hazards and safety and things like that, but you're also increasing what can be done in the throughput out of it too. So
absolutely.
great.
Absolutely.
Any final words, Manny?
No, all I want to say is, everyone out there, we all have a part to do, right? In terms of bringing up the younger generation, like my son, I've been showing him, letting him do things hands-on. It starts at that ground level. And I think it's important for the parents to look at manufacturing nowadays, understand the career opportunities and how technical and clean it really is, and see that shop and do that research, because it's going to start with us and then it'll trickle down, right? Because they're so young, they don't know. So in order for them to know, it's exposure. That's really it.
Yes. Yeah. That's great. Manny, thank you so much for your time. I am Dean Phillips for The Destiny of Manufacturing, powered by the Precision Metal Forming Institute.